Darren.
Hi, Darren.
You guys have this beautiful new space. This is new. This is new to me. Fancy. So you guys are all juniors? Seniors? Oh, all over the place. Okay. Sounds good. Okay. Well, I'll give you a little bit of background on me to start. I know we got some people who are going to sing today. I'm going to sing for you all later. Yeah. I'm going to try to sing and practice what I preach, I hope. Yeah, so I grew up in West Covina. I grew up doing tons of children's theater and community theater here at Center Stage. And I owe so much of my upbringing and who I am as a performer from my experience here and in this community. Honestly, this was the training that I got growing up. I was very lucky to experience playing all shapes and sizes of roles. I worked with Keely, private voice for 6 years? Yeah, wow. And did dance training here at Center Stage, got to play roles that I wouldn't have gotten to play in professional theater, but here that was possible. And so you guys are in such a great space, learn from one another. I got to work with some really incredible actors and performers and just tried to take bits and pieces from everybody that I kind of came across and tried to incorporate them into my own body and my own style of performing. But yeah, I was very much a High School Musical kid. I did a lot of theater, baseball, and they oftentimes butted heads, and it was hard to navigate at times. But I wouldn't be who I am today if I didn't try and seize every opportunity that came. And luckily, Keely was so flexible with me running in and out and all the things, or as well as she could. I know there's some things in theater that are just like, no, it needs to happen, it needs to be there. But it was such a special time in my life, and so to see it now in this like amazing new space is so surreal and so cool, and to be back with y'all. I went to UCLA. It was honestly the only theater program that I auditioned for. I specifically just loved. I was like very much a UCLA kid. I wanted to go there, and so I was like, I'm gonna try to get into the school any way I could, and I knew that auditioning for the theater program would be helpful for me to get in. I also applied for psych programs, communications programs, undeclared in a few schools, to USC's broadcast journalism program. So I definitely was putting all my irons in the fire and seeing whatever would pull me in that direction I was going to run with. And so I did end up getting into the theater program at UCLA. I was in that theater program for about a week, and then I got the opportunity to try out and walk on the baseball team. And I did that. I went to South Hills High School in West Covina, and at that time, my junior and senior year, I did really well in baseball, and we won CIF and all the things. And so I was kind of a late bloomer in terms of excelling in high school baseball. So I didn't get recruited, but I had the opportunity to play at the school. And so I did. I switched out of theater, so I didn't have a theater a part of my life for about a year. And that was the longest that I had really distanced myself from singing and performing, and I knew that that's kind of what it made me realize that I missed it so much, and that it was like a big part of me, and something that I wanted to stick with. And I also just didn't. I was so thankful to have that opportunity to play baseball, but I knew that I would have a better chance of being successful in theater, and also I just missed it. It was a piece of me that I missed, and so I stopped playing baseball after my freshman year. I went into psychology, and I did a singing competition in LA called LA's Next Great Stage Star. That was at a restaurant there, and it was like a weekly competition that we got to sing a song every Sunday. There was like 15 contestants, and there would be different agents, artistic directors, and casting directors that would like judge the competition. And part of the winnings of the competition, if you made the top 5, you got to do your own solo show, which was really cool. the only other aspect of, or the only experience I had putting together a solo show was with Keely in my senior recital that was infamously about 4 hours long. we rented out Candlelight Pavilion. It was like a 4-day event. It was a marathon, but we did it. And so I had a little experience putting together a show, and so I was like, oh, that's so cool. And so I did make the top 5. I didn't win, but I made the top 5. And I got to do my own show, and at the time, Catch Me If You Can was doing their out of town in Seattle. And I saw this bootleg of Aaron Tveit singing a song on YouTube, Goodbye. It was like the 11 o'clock number of the show, and I was like, oh man, this is such a cool song, I gotta sing this song. There was no sheet music available for it, but my musical director that was doing the show with me was like, I think I can figure out this arrangement by listening to that recording. So he did. I sang the song in my solo show that I did when I was a sophomore in college. And the show ended up getting reviewed by Broadway World, the LA Broadway World, and they mentioned that I sang a song written by Mark Shaman and Scott Whitman, who composed Catch Me If You Can, and also composed Hairspray and Smash and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, or Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. So they've done a lot. And so he reached out to me on Facebook. Mark Shaman found me on Facebook. He got a Google alert that his name was used in this review. And he was like, who's this kid that's singing this song? We've literally been doing the show for like a month. And so he found me on Facebook and he wrote to me and he was like, so I heard you sing the song. Did you sing it good? I was like, I hope I did. But I thought I was in big trouble. I was like, first of all, so I was like, who's this guy? And I looked it up and I was like, oh snap. Like, this is really him. I think I'm in trouble. But he was really nice, and he was like, he's like, no. I love hearing that people are singing my stuff. Like, if you sing it again, please send me a recording. I would love to hear your version of it. Like, I just love to hear you singing my stuff. And he's like, oh, also, when we take Catch Me If You Can to Broadway in the fall, we're going to be looking for Aaron Tveit's standby, so maybe we'll bring you in for the role. And I was like, or for the standby, and I was like, okay, I better get on this. So I actually went to Patrick Copeland. I don't know if you guys know Patrick Copeland, but he has a recording studio at his house. He's like an arranger, and he's a musician and a jack of all trades. But so he's a family friend of ours, and so I went to his recording studio in his garage or his house, and we laid down like a clean track of me singing through the show, or singing through the song, to send to Mark Shaman. Sent him the recording. He's like, this is fantastic. I'm going to send it to casting, and we'll see if we can get you out here. So before I knew it, I had a final callback scheduled in New York for Aaron Tveit's standby. And so I was heading into my sophomore year, and my mom went out to me with New York, and that's how I got my first Broadway audition, was like through this random event where I was singing a song in my show, and Mark Shaman got a Google alert, and he was like, hey, you sound good. You should come in. So I was like, okay. I did end up getting that role. They thought I was a little young for the role at the time, which I don't blame them for. It was a big undertaking. I was like 19 years old, but they were like, there's another show, the casting was like, there's another show that we're working on that we think you'd be really great for, which was Carrie the Musical. And so a few months later, I got an audition for that. And they had me put myself on tape for that. I flew out to New York again for callbacks, ended up booking that workshop that eventually led to me booking the Off-Broadway show. And that was my first job in New York. And so it's just, I've had a very windy road to New York, and everybody has their own journey. I owe so much of who I am to this place and this city and the experiences I had here. And I always tell young people, the things that are in your control right now are one, being in rooms like this, surrounding yourself with people that are like-minded and also like you're interested in those things that inspire you. Two, putting things online. It's such a different day and age now than it was when I was in high school. There's so many different outlets of having material of yourself online that casting directors do look for. So if you're in singing lessons with Keely, or if you're here working on songs, and if you're really good about it and it represents you well and it's relevant, like it's a relevant piece, Keely's really good about digging out, finding the relevant pieces that are on Broadway and trying to work it in your repertoire. So if you are comfortable with that stuff, get it online, because casting directors are scouring online. They'll type in key songs that they know all the young kids are singing, or like, things that are trending, and try to find like who's really popping. And so it's an easy way just to kind of throw your iron in the fire and put your name out there and see what happens. But there are so many outlets now, and that's completely in your control, is just to get something online that you're proud of. and that represents you well. And then I was talking about things that you're completely in control of. And then preparation. Preparation is a huge one. The only auditions and like performing experiences that I like truly regret are the ones that I felt like I wasn't prepared enough for. And that's something that's completely in your power. And you'll never regret preparing too much. And it'll allow you to be yourself, because ultimately at the end of the day, they're not only casting well, especially for colleges, they're casting people, they're not casting characters. And so they want to know you, and the only way you can bring yourself into a room is being prepared and having a plan. And that plan shouldn't involve like booking the audition or getting into the school. Treat every audition and every experience as if it's its own little like trial and error, right? So if you go into an audition, you've been working really hard on a note in a song, or you're taking a unique acting beat, or like a choice in a scene that you know is unique to you, that you like feel strongly about, that you're excited about. Like those are little micro like goals you can set for yourself, so that every audition, every experience is constructive. That you don't walk away from anything being like, well, that was a waste of time. Like it should never be a waste of time. Even if you don't get the role, your goal in that audition or that experience is to make the person be on the other side of the table be like, who are they? That was really good. Like they're not quite right for this, but like that was dope, right? like that's the goal. And the only way you can do those things is being prepared, having that plan, walking in there and being completely authentically yourself. And honestly, I've gotten to sit in audition rooms, and it's so informative. Like seeing the people that are completely like at peace in their own skin, not trying to be anything they're not, and the people that walk in there and they are putting on a show and they're nervous. Like it reads. And the way to really combat those nerves is just preparation, having a plan, and being yourself, and just trusting yourself. And that way you always walk away with something. I think we're gonna have some singers today, but does anyone have any questions off the top of your head right now that I can answer? Yeah.
What does your singer sound like? What's the
My mom, my brother just walked in. She might be able to tell me better because it's a blur in my mind right now. I just know that it lasted 4 hours long. We had like multiple intermissions, and it was a feat.
It was called Dream, or If I Can Dream?
Yeah, it was dream related. Yeah, it was. There were 20-something songs. It was and.
It was more than that.
I just remember them bringing me more CDs.
Yes.
That was the day and age. We had CDs back then.
It started at 7 and ended at 11:15.
And my voice was gone. After that, my voice was so torched at the end of that.
And he didn't know that at the end we had a surprise guest for him.
Oh, that's right! I remember. I was like, oh great, I'm torched. So Shauna Bean came out and sang As Long As You're Mine With Me for the finale.
Fun story.
Oh yeah, that's what I am.
This is really fun.
This is my mom.
Derek is now, say your age.
I'm 33.
33.
My mom forgot. She thought I was 32 this week.
Slow him down time. So when he was 15, he was in center stage like you guys, and we were in the Monrovia. It wasn't a dance studio yet, I don't think. And Shoshana Bean was 33, and she came to do a talk back master class like this. And so Derek got to be one of the persons that sang for her. And one thing led to another. We started talking to her, and she was like, if you ever need me for anything, here's my card. And she was super sweet. And that's how the invitation to invite me to Derek's senior recital came. So I just thought, this is so fun. I'm like, Derek, wow, you're 32, I'm 33. And now you're sitting here doing this master class. So I thought that was pretty fun. So,
Yeah, this
she
is a
came
cool
at the end and
full
sang.
circle moment. Yeah.
She was at Elphaba Broadway, and so she came and sang As Long As You're Mine with Derek for the finale, which he knew nothing about. Luckily, he knew the song, but it was a big surprise. It was super fun.
It felt so bad because my voice was like thrashed by that
And
But it's pretty
people
cool.
had left early because they were like, oh my gosh, it's a weeknight and it's 11:15. Then they found out that they missed.
So Shauna coming out at the
So
end.
many bad people.
Moral of the
It
story,
was
don't
amazing.
ever leave a senior recital before.
You never know what's going to happen.
sang La Donna Mobile. I sang my classical pieces. I sang Big River, Ave Maria, I've Seen the Light. We did a big opening sequence with I'm Alive and Next to Normal. Yeah, it was wild. We touched them all. And we had like a Big River medley.
What did you sing? What did you guys sing?
Did we sing the One Republic song? Because we had done that
Did
that
we?
year at Kind Peaks and Pop Stars, which is now Monroe.
Come home. We said
Yeah.
come home. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good times.
And it was a Candlelight Pavilion, which is no longer there.
Yeah.
That is really sad. That's devastating because they had one of the best desserts known to man.
Very Sunday. Everybody got one of those.
I was a big Strawberry Euphoria fan
See, I would get that too.
because they had like this brownie at the bottom. It was just so good. That was because when I was in high school, like the summer leading up until my senior recital. So we did. I was like the summer at Candlelight. We did High School Musical
Into Joseph.
and into Joseph and then Big River.
No, Big River.
Oh, Big River was first.
Big River.
Big River was first, and then
High School Musical.
High School Musical, and then Joseph, and then the senior recital. So I was like,
You live
but
there.
but the moral of the story is during intermission of some of those shows, my dad and my mom would send me back a Strawberry Euphoria during intermission. Those were the days. Any other questions? Yeah.
Is there, just as we're all getting ready for like college and going off to
Yeah, of
school,
course.
is there a preferred pathway that helps performers to do this professionally? Like, would you recommend a four-year program, conservatory schools, or just taking the time to find good quality teachers and classes to take to kind of grow your skills?
Yeah, there are so many different paths, and I think it's just different for everybody. What you need and what you gravitate towards. I think if you are scholastic minded and you would like to double major and you would like to, I don't know what scholastic minded is. I'm so tired. I'm going to be saying words that I don't understand. But it's if you are interested in having more of an education and taking GE classes and having like the full university experience and maybe possibly double majoring or minoring, then like a four-year program would probably be suited for you and like more of a big school feel. If you're interested in acting specifically or voice specifically or something very, very specific, then maybe a two-year program is maybe all you need. But there are so many different outlets now. It just kind of depends on like what city you want to be in, what kind of experience you want to have. There are so many good classes and coaches and things like that that you can seek privately on your own too. So I wouldn't just, I think moral of the story is there is no right way. It's, and there are so many different ways and every program has their strong suits. Like for instance, like what type of things are you looking for in a school?
Definitely musical theater, like the dancing side and the singing side, and I'm just dipping my toes in all of it just to be like a fully well-rounded performer, because I really love musical theater. That's my favorite thing.
Yeah. But then I think like maybe a four-year program would be more where you want to lean because then you have the time to like you do like electrical class, you do lighting, you like learn all the aspects of it. You also have your acting classes, if you're singing, you're involved in musicals. So like if you really want to be engulfed in that world, then maybe that is the world that you want to live in. My brother could probably speak more to the difference between like a BFA or BA or Keely or Julie or any of these people. Just because I didn't go through a full BA program, and UCLA doesn't have a BFA, they just have a BA. And Dylan went to, is Dylan here?
He's not here.
He's not here now. He went to Cal State Fullerton. He graduated from there during the pandemic. But yeah, I would say, if I were going to school now, I would go for experience first. Go for the type of experience that I wanted to have first, because honestly, college you learn so much about yourself more than you actually learn like skill sets. Like you're gonna change, and you're gonna grow, and you're gonna see other people doing things, and your whole mind is gonna shift in terms of like what you gravitate towards just by being surrounded by a melting pot of ideas and people and things and all the things. do so much adulting and growing in college that, yeah, I would, since you're so like, you love the world, yeah, 4 year would probably work, but there is no wrong way. I think just to each his own, whatever kind of experience you want to have.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
So when you do like a show like on Broadway, does it ever like end up feeling like a job? Like, oh, I have to go do this. Like I've done like a month-long run, but that's like the longest Broadway show I've done, and it was fun pretty much every single time. So does it ever kind of like get old?
It never gets old. Never gets old. It gets really taxing. So there are shows where you're just like, I don't know how I want to do this. I'm so exhausted, or my body hurts, or like everything hurts, or I don't know if my voice is gonna last, and it's a Sunday night, and like, so there are those shows that like you just have to like, it's trial and error. Like I've luckily been doing it for a while, so I know what kind of shape my body's in and like what I can endure at this point. But it really is more physically taxing more than anything. I don't think I'll ever get sick of it mentally, because when you do so many shows, you click into a certain place when you start doing them. It becomes muscle memory, but also the audiences are different every day. And with Broadway now, people are swinging in and out. You're never really on stage with the same cast every day. It's the beauty of Broadway nowadays, that we have a lot of coverage, and with COVID protocols and all the things, like people are in and out a lot. And so, yeah, it keeps it interesting. And did you just catch something? Oh, nice. Good catch. So yeah, no, it never gets, what's the word? It never gets routine. It's always really cool. It's more just the physical element of it that becomes mind over matter sometimes. But it's the coolest thing ever. It's awesome. And every show I do, there's always somebody that's either the first Broadway show or the first time they've seen it. And that's a constant reminder that it's like, that's your job, is to create that thing as 100%, give your 100% as many times as you possibly can. And it's not always going to be 100. You can't, it's not sustainable to give it 100. But if that day, if you have 80%, give all 80%. If you got 90%, give all 90%. Now it shows that you know that you have 110%, then you got to scale back and be like, all right, maybe I get like 98%. And like that extra opt up that I really want to do because I feel like Superman today, maybe I don't do that because I have 2 shows tomorrow and I want to be able to make it through pretty easily tomorrow. So it's like those are things that you just kind of learn along the way that I learned through trial and error. Like sometimes when you feel like you can sing anything, you're like, yes. But then the next day you're like, why did I do that? Because now I can't replicate any of that today. But you just learn your limits. But no, it's always cool. It's always the best.
At this point in your career, do you still need to audition, or does call you up?
It depends. It depends. I would say for like readings and things like that, because there's a lot of development. At this point in my career, I don't have to audition for readings as much, just because I've been in for all the casting directors and they kind of know what I can do at this point. But for out of town things or like Broadway productions, things like that, I still definitely audition. Unless, yeah, I mean, that's kind of the beauty of developing something too. Like for Jagged Little Pill, I never actually auditioned for it because I got asked to be a part of the first reading, and they really liked me for the role. And so then from then on, I got asked back to participate in the readings and the workshops. And then before we knew it, we were doing the out of town show, and then I got the offer for that. And I was kind of like, wow, this was like the cool experience ever. I never had to go through that awful process of auditioning. But that was that's the only one that I never had to audition for, just because it was going to be a unique experience. But for most things, I have to sing for, or I have to go in and audition and prepare a packet and present still. But that's the dream. To get to the point where you're just like, offer only.
On that, let's have Naomi come up and do an audition cut.
I love
Get some
it.
feedback.
Yeah.
Don't go behind.
I'm gonna sit right back there in the middle just so I can see her better. That's cool. No, you're good. Nobody has to do it, Rob.
We're not gonna do Mike because I want you to get the real audition feel.
Hi, my name is Naomi Ray Stone, and today I'll be singing Love Will Come and Find Me Again from Bandstand. And it's almost like time has stood still, like a lifetime iced under a frost. And I don't try to warm from the chill, although I know how much I'm lost. Trouble is the more you deny, the more you don't even try, the more the world passes by in a haze. Soon you find you don't even know how many years you let go. The chance is wasted in so many ways. Lately I've been thinking it's time to take a look at what I'm doing then, and lean into if only. Heaven knows there's more than one man, and maybe I should be planning for when love will come and find me
Yeah, you're sick. You're awesome. No, stand here with me. But now I want to talk to you a little bit about this. No, you're awesome. Yeah, you should never be doing this. Yeah. So tell me a little bit. I know Bandstand. I saw Bandstand. So this song is it's interesting because now I'm just gonna approach this like if you were to do this for a college audition, for instance.
Yeah.
It's interesting because it's a showpiece in the show, but then it also kind of touches on this character's a little bit of her journey throughout. So can you tell me a little bit about like less about the love aspect of her, but like I guess what. Yeah.
the journey, like the grief, or
Yeah. Tell me, in your interpretation, what's she going through this piece, and like,
I know
how'd she grow through it?
in the show, she writes like poetry to kind of go through her feelings and stuff, and so for me, like knowing that like her husband died in the war, and she's having to like try to move on, but she doesn't really know how to move on, and I think especially there's a lot of metaphors of like how like her way of describing her grief, but also kind of an anthem to herself and the other women experiencing it, that it's okay, like this sucks, but you're gonna get through it, and you can, like love will come and find us again, and like we'll get through this kind of thing.
Yeah. No, that's great. It's awesome. The reason I ask, in terms of the structure of like how you're building to that final like apex of the number,
Yeah.
you have such a powerful voice and you have such a great presence, but we don't want to give too much too early,
Yeah.
right? We definitely want to like create this arc that the end is definitely like the crescendo of our piece, right? I would love, because we see your charm, we see like the showman of the piece, but I would love to find a moment that we can see like the inner struggle a little bit. Like a little bit of the, is it Cabaret from Cabaret?
Oh, okay.
Maybe this time?
Maybe this time.
Maybe this time. Maybe this time is kind of, it's kind of like she's struggling to find her way through it, and then it ends kind of in a triumphant way.
Yeah.
Let's find like a very, where does you, take me back to the beginning of your cut. What are the first lyrics that you say?
And it's almost like time stood still.
Yeah, keep going, sorry.
Like a lifetime I stood under frost, and I don't try to warm from the chill, although I know how much for the lost.
Okay, so in this moment, just to start in a very grounded place, and this is kind of like what I've started to become my rule of thumb is like, especially with songs that are a little bit disconnected, whether it be like, that don't have like a solid storyline to lock into, like a pop rock piece, or like this, for instance, it's kind of like disjointed, like it's kind of its own thing, but it also is related to the storyline, so it's a little bit double-sided. If you can't like really dig out like an arc of a character in a piece, at least find something in that story to ground the storytelling at the beginning of the piece that gives you permission towards the end of the piece then to sing out Louise and like become your singer-songwriter self. Especially when you're singing pop rock stuff, I always think that like, because some people are like, how do you act pop rock in like an audition that doesn't feel corny and like put on? And I think like, try to find the character in the piece first. Establish the character. And then that kind of gives you permission then to go off script. And then to kind of break the fourth wall and then become your singer-songwriter self. And like live in the moment of like you being like a lounge singer in this moment.
Yeah.
Like, so I think if we earn the character and we ground the character at the beginning, then it gives us permission for the latter part of this cut to kind of do the whole, like bar lounge feel that this character like thrives in, right?
Yeah.
So let's, at the beginning of this, since based on the lyrics you were telling me, let's pretend like it's almost like there's like a small TV in the back that you're watching. Hindsight's always 20/20. We learn a lot from our past, and like a lot of things come to fruition from experience, and yeah. And then once you replay it, you're like, oh yeah, I wish I would have just known that before, but now it just took me going through all that to learn the moral of the story, right?
Yeah.
Let's pretend like you're watching like a slideshow of your life, or this character's life in the back, reflecting on past trials, errors, tribulations, like the darkest of times, the best of times, everything that's kind of led her to this moment. And then what do you think, where's the turning point of the song where she finally says like, yes, I've been through the ups and downs, but I'm finally going to come out of this, and I'm finally like, things are looking up.
I definitely think. I think it's when she goes like, lately,
lately.
Begin,
Yeah.
It's time.
Yeah.
Like, kind of like her like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna get through this. I got this.
Okay, so let's see if we can stay honed in on that story. It could be a little bit more serious. It can be a little bit, because this is all about you. If this were a movie, you wouldn't be speaking. You'd be watching a home movie of your life, and we would just hear the inner monologue, or it'd be playing around, and it'd be cinematic and all the things. So like, let's make the beginning very cinematic. But then once you get to the lately, then you can start to really like feel and start to get your groove back a little bit. Now that you've established who you were, now let's see who you're going to be.
Okay.
Cool?
Yeah.
Let's try.
And it's almost like time has stood still. Like a lifetime ice under a frost. And I don't try to warm from chill. Although
Yeah, that's awesome. It's so good. I know it's tricky to like strip everything away and like you kind of feel constrained, right, for the beginning. But it's great to lock into that. I think we can unleash the physicality a little bit sooner. But thank you for being so laser focused. I think when we drop into the problem is when you get into like the actual like melody of like the piece. I think that's like maybe that's when you can break away from being locked into like the home movie. Like I really like that because it was like really focused and grounded. But then like the next piece, maybe that's when you could start taking in the crowd with like that wisdom being older and wiser from what you've just witnessed.
Yeah.
Because yeah, it just felt a little stagnant going forward ahead. But I think that's when we can maybe open it up to the crowd and you can kind of feel out the room. And then when you get to the lately, that's when you're really like living in the moment and like thriving again. So then we're taking these really like calculated steps up, and it doesn't feel like we ever plateau too soon.
Okay.
And so I think that's the goal with kind of like tempering our physicality at the beginning, so that because when we add our body and we add things, it adds emphasis. And so if we can strategically place them throughout our piece so that it's continuously growing, then that crescendo at the end is so fulfilling, right?
Yeah.
But we don't want to get to that 10 too early. So if we start at like a 5 or a 6, then we can carefully climb to a 7, 8, 9, and then 10 at the end. So that's like kind of what I was trying to see if we could find. But I think it's cool. I think starting kind of that more ominous place where we're like, what is she thinking? But then watching you kind of like slowly but surely find your groove.
Yeah.
It just grounds the character, but then it gives you permission to kind of like, soar at the end. Does it feel good?
It felt really good.
Good, cool. Yeah. You sing. And then we got a couple more people singing, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so it's that time of year.
Yeah.
We have our classical recital. You did many of them. Where they sing one in a foreign language and then one with a partner, or vice versa. It might be a foreign language with a partner and a solo musical theater piece. So in your honor, we have Senior Sarah and Jackson that are doing one of your songs from Dogfight in a few weeks at the classical recital. So let's do it.
Let's do it.
They're going to use mics.
Please do.
Stay on the left side.
Yeah, stay to the left side of the bowl. Darn bowl.
Street lamp dim glow, a light blanket night like summer snow. We'll let it pour, just cover up whatever came before.
Sea breeze whips through and makes you do some shit you'd never do. Talking queer. Why the hell are you still here? And we go
Bum
bum bum bum bum bum bum bum bum bum bum bum bum.
Don't know why I decided
to come. Don't know why I decided to come.
Meet me halfway. A touch and go, don't know what to say. Do we talk? What?
Huh?
Don't expect too much, just just walk.
Blank slate, blank stare. Yeah, you made her cry, why do you care? What took hold? Look at her, she looks so cold. Here we go.
Bum, 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 bum,
Don't know why I decided
to come.
Don't know why I decided to come.
Twisting lemons into lemonade. You'd be sleeping.
You'd be drunk if you had stayed. And you might miss any good that could come after this.
First date.
Last night, not quite what you pictured, but alright. So take her out,
Give him a shot. 'Cause
people can surprise you or not. Here we go.
bum,
Bum, bum, bum, bum, bum, bum, bum, bum, bum, bum, bum, bum,
Good job, guys.
So good.
Thanks. You guys are awesome. So great. I'm just gonna give you like a couple thoughts because you guys are awesome. How do you feel? How do you feel about each other at the beginning of the song?
Well, I mean, the whole thing is that, like, you know, he's asked the girl out because they have the bet, right? And
Yeah, the what? No, the bet.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm scared. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. And so I guess they're kind of awkward at the beginning, but I guess my view is a little more like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this cute guy. But it's kind of awkward and it's weird.
Okay, I'll give you a little bit of a spark notes to the history of this. If you haven't, if you don't know that, so much of the night is actually already passed. So Eddie Birdlace asks Rose to this dogfight. She has no idea what this is. He gets her to go. She goes. Soon or later, finds out what this night is devastated about that. Punches Eddie in the bar, the club where they're at. Goes home, is devastated, and just cries all of her makeup off. Eddie feels terrible and realizes that he doesn't want to be that kind of person, and he actually weirdly has feelings for Rose. Not weirdly, he develops feelings for her throughout the evening. She sees him for more than what he is. And so he goes to try and win her back, and he's like, look, I like you. I like spending time with you. I want to make it up to you and take you on an actual date. Like, no BS this time. Like, an actual dinner, like an actual couple on an actual date. And she's like, really? How do I trust you? And he's like, I don't expect you to trust me, but I'm just asking for you to go off me. And so this is the song that follows that. So it's been a lot of the night that they've had together where they've already lived so much. There's not, so I think, do you know what the, like, in your interpretation, what do the bump bumps stand for? Or like, what do they represent?
you said maybe like an awkward silence.
Both right. I honestly don't know the answer to that, but I always interpreted it in the way that we kind of like learned it was, it's the awkward bump bumps, it's the awkward silence, and at the very end, they're on different notes, and they're not in unison until like the very last minute. Bum bum, and there's like a moment of like harmony between them. That they connect before they go back in. So it's not necessarily that they're irritated with one another or frustrated, or I know it can come off that way at times, and maybe this is poor acting on my part. But I think if we play into the awkwardness of a first night out with a person that you really are tiptoeing around because you want to impress and you don't want to screw up the night any more than you already have, and you giving him a second chance when you know like, oh, like what am I getting myself into? Like this may just come back to like bite me in the butt, but I owe it to myself to give him a chance, and I deserve to have a good night. So this is you like trying to have a good night again, and so that's why there's that. It's more awkward than anything, but I really do think like you putting that jacket on her is you trying, because Eddie just doesn't have the words, but you trying to do a good deed and not really know how it's going to be received, but you're like, you said you were cold, so I gave you my jacket. So I hope you like it. And she's like, I do, thank you. But you know, it's like subtle young love. They both are very much out of their comfort zones, and so those bump bumps are just like the awkward silence between the two of them. So embrace the awkwardness and not the like eye roll of each other. Because I think it is. I think it's just you guys don't know how to act, but deep down each one of you cares for each other. So just keep that in the back of your mind when you are doing this, because as an audience member, it's really fun and more interesting to watch the awkwardness between the two of you. That's where the magic happens. So by the end of it, when there is kind of like a spit and like flirtation, that you guys are both kind of on the same page finally, it's really rewarding for like everybody, including you guys. So, yeah, great job. It's awesome. Yeah, let's go.
So Sarah,
Thank you.
Sarah, I gave him a little bit of background, but you need to tell it in your own words. Go like, your last time that you met Darren.
Oh,
yeah.
you're really gonna let me?
Oh, is this the story?
Yes, let me tell you. Oh, Derek.
It's all kind of so now,
Yeah, I hear we've met before.
yeah. So Darren, we now have a senior recital class for those that are working towards their senior recital. Meet with me once a week to kind of workshop things together, and
Cool.
you know, versus everything having to be said 4 times.
Yeah.
So in that one of his first meetings, your name came up. Yeah. Go ahead.
I was like, Miss Keeley, I need to meet Derek Glenn, okay? Because like we became so close this one time, but not quite. It was during the 15-year reunion, right? I was like, what, 7 or something?
Yeah.
I was so young, and you know, there was no one my age going up to doing the 15-year reunion, because everyone was doing the 15-year reunion, you know? And you were there, and I was like,
You were half the age of the anniversary.
yeah, I know, so how could I participate?
Yeah.
But I was like one of the youngest people to play like the Wicked Witch, and so I was like little tiny, and I'm like, ah! You know. So when they had the villain medley, they had all these people come out for villains, and they were like, Sarah, we're gonna bring you on stage just for that number, and I was like, okay. So I go up, and I was watching back at the 15-year reunion. I go up, and I'm like, yeah! We walk off stage. You come on. And I was like, so he knows who I am. You know? And I was like, well, like, it wasn't a real meeting. So, yeah, we were all, me and, you know, Matt's over
I'm so honored. I'm happy that you finally for real. That's hilarious. You're amazing. Break a leg. You guys crushed that. That's so funny. That's awesome. I'm honored. You should have said something. You were 7 years old. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I went to high school with Bailey. We all went to high school together. Yeah. I did go to South Hills. I was in the same grade as Bailey. Yes.
Any other questions before we're gonna?
Good, where?
Ask him to see.
No, no.
Oh, just where is she?
I was thinking out loud.
Oh, where
I
is?
thought you
Where is Maylin these
She
days?
doesn't work here anymore.
Oh, she doesn't. Okay. Sorry, I didn't know. Any more questions? Because of time. Yes. Yes. Yes.
I had enough before Max and you stole my question. It's fine. Anyways, I started asking about like the transition coming from like such a small town in West Indiana, Georgia, all the way to New York and like really going into any big leagues and stuff. Yeah. I just like a bunch of us who actually do want to go to New York, like coming from such a small town, like this small community and family, like has it been a drastic change?
It was, but it also wasn't. You know, it's New York is big and there's a lot going on and it's chaotic and crazy and it's very intimidating. But it's also like it's a pretty tight knit community of people. Like once you kind of get to know like the casting directors and everything, there's only like 4 or 5 casting directors that cast most of the Broadway shows. So think about it that way. It's a very tight knit group of people that you actually need to like penetrate to get seen. But it's really hard to get that first opportunity to get in the room with them. But once you get that first opportunity, then it's really easy to have the second and third one. It is intimidating. When I first moved to the city, honestly, I had the gentleman Danny Blaylock, who played the King in Big River, with me when I was a senior in high school at Candlelight Pavilion. He had moved to New York after that and was going on tour with Fiddler on the Roof when I went out to New York to do Carrie. And so I actually ended up subletting his room in Queens, living with some older people that like all went to UCI together. And it was a 4-bedroom apartment, 1 bathroom in Queens, about 40 minutes into the city, or 40 minutes outside the city. It took 40 minutes to get into the city. And it was the coolest, like very like, it was very New Girl of us. It was so fun, and it was like a very cool. I was very spoiled because I got to move to New York with work, so I immediately had like people that I was around, like a community of people that I got to know and befriend and kind of show me the ropes. So it was very intimidating, but believe it or not, it's a very, very tight-knit group of people. Once you understand like where most of the auditions are and where like the theaters are and the schools, you start to realize that there's little pockets throughout the city that are pretty tight-knit. So if that helps just kind of like defame it a little bit, it's not, I mean, it is a cool and it's really like a magical and like very intimidating place, but it is tighter than you think it is. That's kind of what it makes it so cool. It's because everybody kind of knows everybody, and you see people in all the random places, and like you run into people at concerts and different cabarets, and it's pretty cool. My mom has a question.
Yeah, I'm using now sometimes like when you're there, it almost feels like you're in your neighborhood Target, like.
It literally feels like a high school, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a small family situation, I feel like.
Yeah, and so it's cool in that way. And the cool thing about New York too is, unlike here, everybody is trying to do what you're doing. So in that way, you don't feel as ostracized or like doing something as unique. Everybody's kind of in the same boat trying to shoot for this thing. So even though that's intimidating, it's also kind of like, oh, where I'm supposed to be. Like, it's also refreshing too because there are so many talented people that, although scary, you're kind of like, oh, this is cool. Like, yeah, it's humbling, but it's also really inspiring in a lot of ways. And you should definitely not be scared of it. It's something that it's cool to embrace. It's cool to embrace and experience. And yeah, I know every time I want to be inspired or like, you know, I see a Broadway show or I see a performance, I get really inspired. So you're just like surrounded by it there. So that's like the really cool part about being in New York is everybody's doing what you're doing instead of like just this building of people like really connecting with you on it. Does that help? Okay, cool. Yeah.
Our kids all know you from Broadway, but you do have like an extensive like TV and film like IMDb and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Can you speak to your experience about that?
Yeah, so for a long time it felt very foreign. I've been lucky to do some film and TV stuff over the past few years, but it is a very different medium. I would say like the biggest difference between putting yourself on camera, which you all do a lot more nowadays because of Zoom and so many things being virtual. What?
No.
I take it back. So like the biggest difference is that I've kind of come to realize about film and TV and acting is one, the community that you have in theater is very unique, I think, to the medium that is theater. You don't quite have that camaraderie on set unless you work on a show for a long period of time, which is so rare. And you have a lot more freedom. I watched an interview a while back that was talking about the different artists and creators that put together different mediums. You have film and TV, or you have film, TV, and theater. In theater, I think it was Tom Hanks. It was Tom Hanks talking about it. He was like, theater's for the actors, TV's for writers, and movies are for directors. And if you think about a director's job on screen, a director gets to tell the DP, the director, or the director of picture, like, the person with the camera that's organizing the cameras, where he wants the audience to look. The actor has no control over that. Only the director can be like, okay, yeah, we're going to pan here, and then we're going to pan there, and then we're going to pan there, and then we're going to cut away, and then we're going to go back there. So everywhere that the audience is looking is orchestrated. And it's completely out of the actor's control. All the actor has to do is just be in the moment and deliver the line honestly and know exactly like what your purpose in that scene is. But everything else is taken care of you. So at first, you would think it's easier for an actor, right? Then you just got to do your job. But being on stage, we're taught on stage, the reason why the actors have a lot of power is because we get to command attention. And there's lots of elements on stage in this in a big space. There are only a few things that tell our audience where to look, right? There's lights, there's sound, there's the actor itself, and there's musicians, and set pieces, all the things. But everything's happening on a grand scale. Everything is a wide shot. And it's up to us, the actors, using our diction, our volume, our words to direct our audience where to look. So we have so much power on stage. And although that can be intimidating to a lot of people, for me it's really freeing and it's really fun to have that type of freedom up there that you don't quite get on camera. You're very restricted to how much you can move, how much you can give, because everything is very, very uptight, in tight. It's just tomatoes. For me, it took a long time to get comfortable in that medium, and I was much more comfortable in open space because I felt like less eyes are on me, even though more eyes are on me. And so, and then film and then TV is for the writers because I think writers carry TV because they can run for long periods of time, and you really need to have an ongoing storyline to keep a television show relevant for season upon season upon season. The direction is kind of the same. Once you understand the show and the way it's shot, every episode kind of looks similar. And you get into a rhythm, and directors just kind of have to know where to put everything. The actors kind of get into a rhythm, but the writers are the ones that are actually extending the story and navigating what our audiences are going to cling on to. So I thought that was a really cool analogy, kind of to break down the different mediums and what defines each and what piece of the medium can really excel. And so that's why the stage is really cool, because the actors get so much power to command and direct the attention where the audience should be looking. With great power comes great responsibility. Yeah, I hope that answers your question a little bit. Yeah.
So when you do auditions or working with casting directors and even just anyone on sets, theater, television, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How do you stand out? How do you show that you are different compared to everyone else? Because when you answer Danny's question, everyone is doing what you want to do. Everyone is going for the same goal. How do you stand out? It's a loaded question.
It is. It's a combination of things. The reason I was trying to get us to be really focused and subtle at the beginning is because there are so, like, if you think about a casting director's job, and especially like an open call, where I hear they're literally asking people to bring in like 12 bars these days. I'm like,
Yeah.
how is anybody supposed to deliver a performance that gets noticed in 12 bars? It's just like, it's crazy. But what's really interesting is, so you have all these people going into the room trying to give as much as they can in 12 bars, and that can get exhausting. And if you hear people trying to sing as loud and as high as they possibly can in 12 bars and be as showy as they can in 12 bars, the minute somebody starts doing something on the first beat, you check out. It's the performances where they start very subtle and then it grows into something. Now of course in the 12 bars you don't really get a chance to do that, so I get why you have to kind of come out and show your stuff fast. But being composed, being in your body, and giving a really, really specific and like laser focused audition is more important than giving everything you possibly have in an audition. Because the goal of an audition is not necessarily to book that. It's to get the casting director and the people on the other side of the table to want to see more of you. And if you give them a solid audition that's really focused, that you are completely in your body, it really does stand out. That's why I say like preparation is huge. Preparation, having a plan, and being yourself are like the biggest things. And they're only things you have control over. I can tell you when I booked Dogfight, I was the first one to get cast, and so I got to sit in the audition room and watch a lot of the final callbacks of a lot of the guys coming in for the other Marines and also the Roses. So I got to see Lindsay's audition. I got to read with her, and it was the most informative like experience that I ever had, because I saw people that I know walk into the room and were completely other, like different people, and I was like, no, dude, what are you doing? Don't do that. Because there's like, I would watch people that I knew were super talented and charming, like walk in there, and I could tell they were nervous, and I could tell they weren't, and they're like, the reason I knew this is because I'd walk out of the room and during a break or something, I'd see them on the way out, and it's like, hey man, you were great there. And they're like, what? How do you know? And I was like, I was in the back of the room watching. I was like right behind the table, and he was like, oh dude, I didn't see you, sorry. But yeah, it was good. And I was like, because I could tell he was in his head. He walked into a room, he wasn't present, he wasn't even really to take in like who was at the table. He just like knew that like he was there to audition, and it was freaking him out a little bit. And like I get that feeling, like I get that all the time. But there was such a difference between a person who walked into an audition with like nervous energy, and like you could tell that they were kind of all over the place, and like they like were just kind of reeling with a lot of energy and like wanted to do the audition. They really wanted to perform well. And then there was another person who walked into the room that was like, hey guys. And like was really like taking in the table and like really calm, and then they were like, hey, do you want to sing, or do you want to do the scene first? And they were like, do you guys have a preference? And they're like, no, I mean, it's totally up to you. They're like, all right, I think let's sing first. Great. You're like, all right, great. Walk over, calm to the piano, introduce himself to the piano, do the thing, go back out in their body, sang. It was awesome. Got up, read with them. It was a great scene. They were like, hey, nice to meet you. Yeah, awesome. And then they're like, yeah, that's awesome, great. Cool. You guys need to see anything else? Great. Well, thank you so much. Nice to meet you. Thank you. And they walked out. It was such a refreshing, like calm, cool, collected audition. But the person was totally just calm in their body because they knew exactly what they were there to do. And there was such a difference in the room between that person and the person who I knew who walked in like, I hope this goes well. Like it read all over their face. But it really is something that you can't describe. You just, and for me, it all comes down to preparation. If I'm prepared, I'm able just to be like, YOLO. Like, it is what it is. Like, this audition's either going to go really well or it's not going to be good. But either way, I'm going to throw my sides in the audition in the trash can on the way out and be like, I'm done. That's all I can do. And then if I get a call back or if I hear anything from this, awesome. If I don't, was I prepared? Did I do what I came there to do? Did I feel like I was in my feet? Like, was able to answer questions and know who was at the table and like be myself and be a person? Yeah. Okay, great. Then I represented myself well, and I hope they saw that. But like that's all you can do. So yeah, I think being standing out in an audition room is being completely in your body and being able to walk into a room comfortably. Even if there are nerves there, if you're prepared and you know what you're there to do, it will read. And don't always feel like it's not about how much you do, it's how specific you can be at doing it. If you have a laser focused audition that doesn't have a whole lot of bells and whistles, but you are like locked in and you deliver like a really focused audition, they'll read it. They'll be like, oh, that was cool. I want to see what else they can do. Like it wasn't super rangy, but I would like to see like what kind of range they have. And then they'll call you back. Or they'll like, you know, put a star next to you and be like, all right, next time like I want to see something from them. But like that's the way to stand out. Is like don't just give everything in 10 seconds. Pick like 2 things to like really nail. And then just leave them like wanting something more from it. I hope that's helpful. Yeah.
When it comes to like auditioning and nerves and stuff, how do you combat that and have like your like and be like laser focused
Preparation. It's the only way. It's the only way to not think about all the other things. And like if you're prepared and you know your stuff, then no matter what kind of direction. Here's another thing that when a director, this is another like Joe Mantello who directed Dogfight and directed Wicked. He like basically taught me how to be a professional actor. He gives direction in an audition just to see if you'll take it. Not even if it's right. He'd be like, yeah, so we're trying to figure out like what we're doing with this role. But and he's like, I know on paper it doesn't seem like this, but like what if we played it like he was a serial killer? And like just gave like serial killer energy, like I don't know, it's an idea that we were talking about. But like just run with it. And I'm like, and so like this is like this wasn't for Dogfight, it was another thing I went in for him before. But I knew Joe, so I knew exactly what he was trying to get me to do. Because if you're not prepared and you're thinking about your lines, it's really hard to recreate a scene. If you've been practicing it, it's really hard to pick it up and do it a different way. But if you know it well and you're in your body, then you're like, oh, this will be fun. Okay. I want to be a psycho now. Okay. Because he just wants to see like, okay, great. When I get in the room with this person, if something isn't going the way we want, I can talk to them and I know that they're gonna be a person and be able to be malleable. But if I just talk with them and I get the sense that they're like locked in what they're doing and their nerves are getting in the way, then they're gonna be really hard to work with. Because I'm not gonna be able to direct that. And so that's another thing about being prepared is like when a director wants to work on your audition with you and you can't pivot on a dime and try something new and embarrass yourself and be like, was that closer to what you wanted? If they say like, great, that was awesome, great. Then they just want to see you change. They want to see a different side of you, even if it's not right, and you not be afraid to give that. And it's really hard to do if you don't know your stuff. So yeah, preparation and just having those like 3 things and knowing that those are the only things you have control over. Yeah, sure.
Because you've been talking about being prepared and having all the preparation, how do you approach when you're going into an audition or even going in for like a show and you're performing? How do you try to prepare? Do you research the like background and get all of the resources that you need, or is it just like really like just understanding? How would you prepare?
I look up. Yeah, I mean. I look up if it's a songwriting team that I don't know very well. I'll try to look up like their previous stuff to see who they use, what style they are in. Sometimes I'll even try to find like YouTube videos of them like to see like their writing process, like if they write lyrics first or if they write the music first, because that will kind of interpret like where they lead with their music making. For directors, I'll look at like what else they've done in the past. For on-screen stuff, I'll look at primarily directors and writers to see their past works to kind of like feel out like the tone of where they like to live. A lot of their stuff. But that's mainly like new pieces and that you just don't have any reference of. Directors, you can look at like other stuff that they've done before. Yeah, I try to do as much digging as I can. Even on YouTube, even on like YouTube, if you want to look up like people that you know you're gonna be in front of, sometimes it helps to demystify the thing just by watching a video of them like an interview, like especially for schools. Like if you're going into like a Michigan audition and like you are intimidated to like have an interview with the head of the Michigan theater department, look up them in interviews on YouTube and them talking about their program and all these things. Watching them be a person will help demystify them, so that when you do see them for the first time, you're like, oh, I've seen them talk, I know their thing. So it feels like you've met them already without actually meeting them. So that's another way to just kind of familiarize yourself with the people you're going to be seeing in the room for the first time. So that way, when you do see them for the first time, you're not like, there they are. That way you can kind of prep your brain for that kind of interaction. Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
Switching gears on you
Should we sing?
before we wrap up. Well, let's sing too, but give us a favorite center stage memory.
A favorite center
Whether
stage.
it's on stage, off stage, both.
Doing our Wickersham brother hair. Every show. I think that. Tanner! Hi! Coast to coast.
Really, both of us.
Oh, no. I just saw Tanner like a month ago in New York.
He's following you.
No, since I'm following you.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, so the Wickersham hair was definitely fun. I became like the sculptor of one guy's hair. That he had the most. What was his name? That he was a really good dancer.
Marius? Robert?
No.
Nick?
He was a younger guy, but he had so much hair.
Oh.
Kind of like mop top.
Oh, yeah. David, I think. David or Daniel. He was only there a year or two.
Yeah, he was only there, but he was a great mover. But he had so much hair, like we couldn't get him to go. So I remember like pulling out like the ice, and like we were like really trying to get like hair, but we took a lot of pride in our hairstyles. Oh man, I've Seen the Light was pretty legendary. I mean, All Shook Up was probably the big one.
That's our summer show for the first time since you did it this
Really?
year.
All right. And good old Paz Naz.
We still have some of the set pieces.
We do.
All right, love that for
Yes,
us.
and they've been
I love All
since
Shook Up.
2008.
All Shook Up was really, really fun. That's to this day like still one of my favorite shows. That's awesome. But yes, yeah.
Little pivot to also go, you know, we're doing this summer.
Yeah.
What was your favorite part of that show? The song, like,
I don't want to. It was really fun. No, I don't want to. Once you let it go, I want you.
I watched your video on Saturday.
Oh really?
I'm walking around, I'm not kidding. I found it on YouTube, like 40 views. I'm like logging in.
That was honestly like, well, some of my best friends were playing like we were all in the cast together, so that was also like a really fun like bonding moment because I was on stage with like my best friends the entire time, and it's such an ensemble show, and so it was really fun just to do with everybody. I would like to say "Come On Everybody" was one of my favorite numbers, but he kind of has to orchestrate that number and then the dancing element and all the things, and so that was all constantly like a pat your head and rub your tummy number. I don't know. I loved being a goof. I never got to be like goofy as much, and so that was an opportunity for me to like flex just like comedic skills, and also get to play like a leading man type guy, but also get to like have those qualities. So that was a really cool like marriage of who I was at the time, and also like a cool opportunity. And we also had a double cast, and I was the only cast as the Chad, so I was like, oh. we were doing double time. But it was fun because every show I had like a different cast member. It was cool.
I guess a different cast member.
What about when Miss Lamrose got it?
Yeah, what was Miss Lamrose done?
Yeah, it was great.
We're in here.
Do you have any tips for Chad?
Oh, Max.
Confidence. It's all confidence. Yeah. Confidence is false confidence. Yeah, you got it.
I'm always telling them that one thing that we really feel is important here, that is we're making wonderful human beings that are also great performers, and that you will be friends with these people forever, most likely, unlike when you can go to school and things come and go and programs come and go and shows open and close, but tell us how you are still friends.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So Jonathan, Kristen Lambert, Julie's daughter is in New York. My friend Jonathan, we were all in Ulster together. We haven't seen each other as much lately just because I've been drowning and we have a 3-month-old and lots of kids now. Yes. But it's really cool. It's really cool to see the community. Elise Anderson. I just saw her on the street and her new husband. Yeah. So Taylor Ortega, yeah. Oh my gosh, yes. So there's like there's a lot of 6 degrees of center stage in New York right now. And that is the beauty of theater. Like it will always kind of bond you and unite you in like a weird way that like having people, because high school everybody kind of goes their separate ways, goes to different careers and doing all these things, but like having these core memories in theater and sharing that. No matter what path you decide to take in life, you'll always have a love for that, and you'll always share that love with the people that you created with. So that's the cool part. So yeah, we're still very good friends. Buddies for life. Any more questions? Yes. One last one.
This one's like incredibly in the other direction.
Let's
I'm
do
so
it.
sorry. But like, what to you is like the most mentally taxing part of being a leader, and how do you like overcome that? It's a very deep question. I'm sorry.
I'm trying to think of like when was. I would say rehearsal periods are very mentally taxing because you have to be on and you have to be valuable and you have to be attentive for long extended periods during the day. So I would say like the rehearsal process and tech are very mentally challenging because they're tedious, they are long. Like your brain gets stretched as much as your physical aspects do. But once you're in a show schedule, I feel like it's pretty. You get to a place where you do it enough times, you don't have to think about it anymore. And like that, then you're kind of able to free up your mind and then let your body do all the hard lifting, heavy lifting. And so, I'd say most of the time it's more physically challenging, but I would say like the rehearsal process and building something just gets mentally taxing just in terms of having to be on and attentive, especially if you are in a key role of a show where you're in every scene and you don't really get a whole lot of breaks and you're in there for 7 hours doing scene after scene after scene after scene. Although it's great for getting it in your body, it can be really taxing. Yeah.
What about, I know you talk about when you're in a show and just that responsibility of even when you're not at the show per se, living your life, you have to always be like ready to be prepared and be at your best when you do show up for your show. So when you're in a show, that's kind of mentally taxing because you just always have to be focused and keep yourself at your best 24/7, right?
Yeah, I mean, full disclosure, during Moulin Rouge, I had a couple like vocal injuries. Not necessarily my vocal cords, but like with some muscles surrounding them that were driving me crazy. Because I'd show up every day and something would feel different. And I'd be like, okay, what's happening? Like, I ended up straining, I had some TMJ stuff. If people struggle with TMJ, it can affect your voice. And so just like, know that about yourself, and there's different things you can do to kind of like, because anywhere we hold tension, especially here and here, it's gonna restrict our voice from being able to be used to its full potential. So I was running into some TMJ stuff and some back issues and some this muscle that's connected to your jaw. It was
doing some weird things, and so every day I would have to like check myself in the morning and go through like a series of stretches and workouts. And I was seeing I was going to a voice teacher once a week, still, working on everything, making sure everything was working. So that aspect is actually, thank you for bringing it up, that maintaining your physical health can actually be mentally taxing because it's so exhausting being like, it's a job outside of your job. Most of your job is outside of actual work. It's preparing to do that and being able to do that every day. And it is like more work outside of the theater than it is being inside. But then depending on what kind of shape you're in, if you're dealing with an injury or something like that, it could be a little less mentally taxing. But yeah, it does start to take like a mental toll on you being like every day to get up and do the things and get yourself ready to do that. And like I remember when I finished Moulin Rouge after doing it for a long time, I was like, oh, I can't wait to like not sing tomorrow. And just like go throughout my day and not having to worry about like checking to make sure everything's in the right place and like warming up and doing all the things. But so that could be more mental, I guess. But yeah, once you're in the run though, it's a lot of just physical. I would say the rehearsal process is pretty mentally challenging.
So this is kind of like going off of what you were just saying. How do you, I guess, separate, like if you have like a bad day or something goes on, how do you, I guess, get over that and like still do your best? Because you still have to do a show. Because I've had days where they've just been an awful day, and then I have to do like a matinee and a night show, which I guess that's an issue, but
No, I mean,
yeah,
there's still shows.
yeah. But how do you, I guess, get in the right headspace for the show if it's just kind of like, it seems like you have this like pressing issue?
Music is big for me. Like I like to listen to something that is gather my thoughts. It's challenging. If you're dealing with something that's like really emotionally, like an emotionally challenging day, that's kind of consuming. Depending on the show, either you use it and you're really locked in during that show because you're so like you're so emotionally drained that you're just like, it's cathartic almost to be on stage and just kind of let it out that way. So that's one way of doing it. Another way is to, if you're like really down and out but you want to pick yourself up and it's a really cheery show and you know it's going to be torture if like the whole time you're having to like put it on even though in the back of your mind you're like, still hurting, then try to find something before the show that centers you, that like almost like a meditation. Almost like a piece of music or something that really centers you and just like calms you. Try to get to a calm place. You don't have to turn that frown upside down, but just like try to take some deep breaths, center yourselves, get to a place where your shoulders relax, everything relax, and just be like, I'm gonna go out there and do this for 2.5 hours. And then life continues. And for this moment of time, I'm letting myself off the hook for what's happening, because I have no control over that at this moment. All I have control over is what happens from now until 10:30. And so I'm gonna go, let that go. I'm gonna go be with my friends, do my thing, and then after the show I'll deal with it. And in that way you can kind of release yourself of that responsibility for like 2.5 hours. I was gonna say something when we were talking, or when Keely brought up like on stage intimacy, like kissing and stuff like that, kissing on stage. Kissed many a girl in my show. No, I'm totally kidding. No, but like people, this is another question I get is like, what makes on stage like chemistry? Like people that have good chemistry on stage, and I think like after being with a lot of on-stage partners and remaining really good friends with all those on-stage partners. Also, I've been with my wife for like 15 years,
yeah.
So we're very secure. But the way to have a functional, really healthy on-stage relationship is having good chemistry, right? How do you have good chemistry? Some people, you see them on stage together, like, they do not like each other. This is uncomfortable for us, this is too much for them. But a lot of it just boils down to, like, trust and respect. If you trust the person you're on stage with, you trust that they're not going to do anything you ever rehearsed, and you trust that they're going to respect your boundaries, then we are in a good place, and we can do our scene, and we can release ourselves from that, and we can end the show, and everybody can go on with their day without making it weird. And the way to do that, like a physical way to do that, this is kind of dovetails what we were talking about.
I have this. I have worked on it. Is for Jagged Little Pill, we had an intimacy coordinator. A lot of, in New York, they have the budgets to have intimacy coordinators that deal with either like physically challenging shows or emotionally or you know, intimate interactions, just to make make sure everybody's safe. We have actually like a separate closed rehearsal room where we experiment with those things in a very safe space before we present them to like a cast, or just so people feel comfortable and they don't feel overexposed. But the way that we got into, the way that we were taught, because we had a lot of touchy material in Jagged Little Pill that was sensitive and people were put in very uncomfortable situations. You would go to, if the uncomfortable situation was in the first act, you would go to that person before the show,
and you would, you go up, you go face to face, you breathe out, then you tap it, and you give them a high five. And you'd be like, you good? Yeah. You good? Yeah, you're good. So then you do your thing. Then that's your way of mutually checking in, being like, all right, we're here, no matter what day you're having, we're here together, I got you, you got me, we're gonna do this, check in, great. You do your thing on stage. Once you're done with that, whether it be intermission or after the show, then you go back to that person, you be like, do the same thing. Breathe out, and then tap out. So that you're able to move on with your day, and whatever happened on stage, you leave on stage. And you're able to do your thing. And it's just a nice way to check in with other people every day. And also, like, before you do that, you can have a conversation with the person and be like, hey, what's going on? Are you feeling good? How's your day going? Good. Okay, great. If they are dealing with something, you can talk about it first and be like, all right, well, I got you today. And, like, you can lean on me. We're going to get through it. It'll be good. Let's tap in. Tap. And that way, like, you have that connection, you have that understanding, you know where the person's at before the show, so when you see it for the first time, it's not on stage in the scene, and you're like, why are they looking at me like that? Like, why are they in a weird place? Like, what did they not tell me? Because then if you tap in, there's nothing that they didn't tell you. You checked in with them, you understand where they're at, and you're like, okay, I'll be there for you today, maybe tomorrow, depending on what space I'm in, I'm going to need a little extra support, and then that person on stage with you is like, I got you. And that's kind of the nature of the piece. The same thing kind of goes for dealing with like outside stuff. You kind of just got to tap in with yourself and be like, all right, I'm here, I'm going to release, or I'm going to use it, and it's going to be a really emotional show. and there were some shows in like Moulin Rouge where like I was like, why is this happening? Why is like my voice not doing what I wanted to do today? And then like I would be singing like we're rolling in the deep and like I remember when I lost my mind. Then I'd be sitting there just being like, why? And it was like the end of the show was really dramatic, like, wow, you're really crying. And I was like, yeah, because it was a horrible show. So there are times where you're just like, why? And you're like, wow, he's really in it today. So that happens too. Yeah.
Do you feel?
Should we sing?
Yeah.
It might be a little rough. We'll go for it.
Oh,
I have to preface it with an asterisk.
Your rough is still good.
Well, that's not.
hey, it's not in Italian. Oh, yeah.
Yes, very true. Yeah, I won't use it. Hydration's key. I'm more nervous for this than I would be.
Your voice teacher's lunch.
Oh, guys. I'm too kind.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, let's do it. Thanks, Jim. I grew up on the slide in the gutters and the streets of Petersburg. Just a kid on the fly, getting good at getting by in Petersburg. I borrowed for a blanket, stolen for my bread, learned to take my chances, use my head. A Russian rat is clever, or he ends up dead. Boils down to there are some survive, some give up, some give in. Me, I won't, black and blue. Welcome to my Petersburg. Standing here, you can see from the spires to the piers of Petersburg. I'd be down on that quay, selling stolen souvenirs of Petersburg. The palaces above and alleyways below. Funny when a city is all you know. How even when you hate it, something in you loves it so. That's where I learned my stuff in some rough company. There's the boy growing up who was me, all I've been, all I'll be. We can do what we're told, we can go where we're led. But I learned from my father to see what's ahead. Nothing here to hold me, no one that I owe. Funny how a boy can grow. My voice is gone. Yeah, I might not be able to do it right now. Well, I'll get to the end of the song. Fine. I'm like right now. Hold up. Okay. Boils down to there are some who have walls yet to climb. You and I on the fly, just in time. But tonight there's a sky and quite a view. Welcome to. Yeah, songs I know right now.
Everyone, my Petersburg.
Yeah, it's a long one.
Singing and teaching all day long.
Yeah,
for
I
the musical
should
theater
have laid
convention.
flat for a bit, but we're good. Thank you for indulging.
But you know, I have so many wonderful memories with you on and off stage, but the one thing I treasure the most is you never say no. You didn't have time to be here tonight, but you made time.
I will always try, and I appreciate you. Thank you for. And thanks for all being here. You're in really good hands, and it's really fun to come back to the space we all began. Well, different space with the same people. And so, and then like that's what makes theater so cool. It's like, you know, the people are always there. It's cool.
Well, let's
But thank you for being here.
get a group photo with you.
Yeah.